Good Saturday morning and welcome to another edition of the award-winning Outdoors with Larry Ray on 790 The Bet. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency and Wally Hatchett's Comfort Food and Drinks at 6439 Summer Avenue. Now here's your host, Larry Ray.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Outdoors with Larry Ray right here on 790 AM and 92.9 HD-FM in Memphis, Tennessee, WNWS AM at 1520 and 95.3 FM in Brownsville, and News Talk 101.5 FM in Jackson. Unfortunately, Larry is not here in the studio. He is out of town having a good time. So let's take a look back at some of the best of Outdoors with Larry Ray.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray. And we've been talking a lot about the Legends of the Outdoor Hall of Fame last Saturday at Springfield, Missouri, and threw a little Joella Bates in there going to Italy for the World 3D Archery Championship. But let's get back to what Bill Cooksey and Ron Wong like to talk about, and I know that, and that's fishing. And we've got on the line with us this morning a young man that's had some pretty good success here. He's now a member of the $1 Million Club. He's probably caught more smallmouth bass than I've ever seen anybody do, and he now has 3 victories. And so let's talk to Dustin Connell. Good morning, Dustin.
Good morning. How are y'all doing?
We're doing good, man.
Great.
And I know when I read some of the stuff and I watched some of the tournament on there, and you were kind of blown away by some of the things that were going on in the tournament. You were stunned and things along that line. Talk to us about what happened in New York.
Yeah, we were at Lake Cayuga.
Yes.
And, or Cayuga, however you pronounce it.
Well, just pronounce it.
Cayuga sounds good.
That sounds good.
That's right. Yeah, then that's one of the Finger Lakes in New York, and I had been there one other time. I caught 2 bass that whole day, and it was just terrible to me. And then, we go there, and Cayuga is normally known for a largemouth fishery. Now, there is some, pretty good smallmouth in there. That's what everybody's kind of always seen and heard. And, man, I show up in practice, and it was game on. I mean, I'd idle around, and I would use my electronics. And my first, smallmouth I caught weighed 6 pounds, 5 ounces.
Wow.
That's great.
That's huge.
That's
huge up there.
That's huge. And that didn't even turn out to be the biggest of the tournament. So I mean that's
no.
So go ahead. Yeah. So you knew.
Yeah.
You knew you were going to have some fun. I mean.
Oh, absolutely. I caught that fish, and then I was fully committed, on smallmouth, and it was just best case scenario. I moved around the lake, and I found a ton of different areas, and nobody was smallmouth fishing. Everybody was, in that grass and largemouth fishing.
Yeah.
And it was just perfect scenario, and we got the win.
25 bass weighing. Listen to this, Rod. 96 pounds, 12 ounces.
And they're all smallmouths.
All smallmouths. And third place was 49.7. And poor old Jacob Wheeler. I mean, we're going to really feel sorry for Jacob. He's won a little money himself, but it became a 2-person race right there. So what was going through your mind? I mean, for a guy that caught 2 bass on the other time that you've been up there, Dustin?
I always kind of judge my tournament on my practice, and I've had good practices before and bad tournaments, and I'm like, man, I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak too soon, But I felt really, really good going into that tournament, and it just, throughout the days, finally we made the championship day, and I knew Jacob and all them guys were going to be tough, but it all came down to, just a few bites,
It did, didn't it? Yeah.
I knew I did not feel comfortable with Jacob behind me. He's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
Right.
He didn't make it easy on me. I stressed pretty much most of the day. The last 30 minutes, I was like easing off of it a little bit. So,
yeah.
But we eased over him. It don't happen very often, but when it does, I always kind of rub it in his face a little bit.
There you go.
Yeah, you do. Dustin, you use a spinning reel a lot because
you sure do. Yeah.
You fish for spotted bass there on the Coosa River, at home. Does that help you to be comfortable about fishing for those smallmouths, especially in deeper water up there at Cayuga?
Yes. I spent a ton of time this fall or last fall and this spring really just getting dialed in on how these fish act when they are suspended.
Yeah.
And I can catch spotted bass the same exact way as these smallmouth. They have the same, I guess you'd say, temperament. They do. They're really open water. They're nomadic. Meanwhile, a largemouth is going to be at a grassy point, or he's going to be in the thick grass or a grass clump.
Yeah.
These smallmouth are they're hard related. They're hard structure related, whether it's a rock pile, whether it's a gravel spot, and man, it's just right at home for me.
Yeah. And what were you using to catch them? Tell our listeners your setup, rod, reel, lures, baits.
I was using a 7.2 medium heavy action favorite hex rod.
Okay.
And that rod is super sensitive. I was using a drop shot with a half-ounce weight. And I was using a Guggenbait's Dragon Drop.
Oh, okay. I love that.
Green
pumpkin
color.
Okay, yeah.
And then I was using just a regular shad bait, like just a soft jerk bait for the fish that were not around any kind of structure. So those open water roaming fish, I felt like they were chasing those alewives. And then when fish were around, whether it's a big rock pile or, even an old log laying on the bottom, I would pitch that Dragon Drop through there, and it kind of imitated a goby.
How important, Dustin, is forward-facing sonar for those smallmouth?
Oh, man, that has changed the game when it comes to just offshore fishing in general. It's way more efficient. It's really cracked the code on suspended fish. That's always been the hardest fish to catch.
Yeah.
And if you learn these electronics nowadays, and there's a lot of controversy on that, and it's been that way for years now. I can remember all these smallmouth tournaments won with down imaging or just 2D, sonar. I can remember. Aaron Martin's on Lake Erie, and he's out there following seagulls around, catching them with 2D.
Right.
And it's just progression of the game, and but it's very, very important nowadays to know that kind of stuff.
Again, we're talking to Dustin Connell. He's just coming off a big win up in New York, where everything was smallmouth, and they said 80% of the fish caught were largemouth bass. But you and Jacob Wheeler were going for the other 20%, and that's what it ends up with a big victory. And to think this is number 3, which ties you with Ott for most wins on the Pro Tour, and then also of course Jacob's got 5. So you guys, those are pretty good company for you, right?
Absolutely. To win 2 in one season, that's incredible. You got to have all the cards, and you got to have everything line up perfect. And these guys are the best in the world. And, I just feel like when it's your time, you can't force it or not. It's just going to happen. So I had 2 great tournaments, and we got one left at Mille Lacs.
That's right.
Yeah. And, that's going to be another smallmouth slugfest, if you will.
Slugfest is
and you've been there before, haven't you?
I have. I fished one tournament there, and I've been there actually 3 other times. And I went just about a month and a half ago to practice. So I idled and practiced for 3 days there, just did some homework.
Okay. Yeah. Well, a lot of you folks out there, if you missed it, the television coverage of the Fox Rent-A-Car Stage 6 on Cayuga Lake will be 6 p.m. on Saturday, November the 12th on the Discovery Channel. I'm going to watch it again. I just got to watch it because to see those fish come in like you guys were doing and to know what was at stake, and I think you said it was unreal. And
man, it was impressive. I know that.
Yeah, and to stand
that lake is so good, man. It's really, really good lake.
Well, it's pretty cool when you think about going over 1 million now. I mean, that's pretty amazing. I'm sure Victoria's handling your money now. Is that right? I mean,
she's always had. I've always said this. I love winning tournaments.
Yes.
But when I win them, it's like these Amazon boxes.
Oh, there it goes. That's what.
More of that stuff shows up, and I'm like, all right, hold on a minute. There's a common denominator here.
Well, you just got to get all this thing and get back to turkey hunting and other bow hunting like you like to do too. I mean, there's
right.
life after that. Dustin, thank you, man, for being with us on Outdoors with Larry Ray.
Congratulations again,
man.
Dustin,
and we'll
so happy for you.
Yeah, we'll get back with you, man. Keep going, okay?
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. All right, Dustin Cannell. These young guys, Ron, I mean, Alabama guy goes to New York and catches 95 pounds. What are you going to say, Bill?
Yep. And
I want to bring it to the Mid-South. These big smallmouth bags here in the last few years, and maybe Ron will know better on this. I mean, it wasn't long ago that our buddy Roger Stegall had by far the biggest smallmouth daily bag ever in a major tournament. And I think that was, 24 pounds, Ron?
That was,
23
or 24 pounds out of Pickwick Lake. And, and
I remember that.
Unfortunately, a lot of the habitat in Pickwick Lake has changed, just like Kentucky Lake. However, Kentucky Lake now, the smallmouths are coming back there.
No doubt.
And they're
But I'm just talking about all these huge bags that are coming in
now,
from these other lakes.
The northern lakes, like Cayuga, St. Lawrence River, Champlain.
Yeah, that's
what makes it different is the type of food they're now eating up there. With the gobies that are up there now that were illegal at one time, and the zebra mussels cleaning up the water and everything.
Yeah,
those fish have a lot more to eat up there than they do in the South, and that's why a 16-inch smallmouth up there is going to weigh 2.5 pounds, where a 16-inch smallmouth here at Pickwick Lake or on the Tennessee River is going to only be 2 pounds.
All right,
that's the difference.
All right, got 2 minutes here, real quick, Ron. Fishing report before we let out here. Get out of
real quick. We got 1 minute. Crappie fishing. The thermocline is down to about 9 to 10 feet now, so use a double minnow rig for crappie on the I-55 lakes, about 8 to 10 feet deep. The bass, they're biting really, really good at the I-55 Lake Sardicina, Grenada. Early in the morning, a topwater bait like a whopper popper or a sexy dog.
Oh, I love that.
Once they go down, use a 7-inch cutter worm and June bug or green pumpkin Texas rig and catch them on the points.
Ron Wong, you're out of here, buddy. Thank you for your help as always. We're going to stick around to this last segment. We're going to talk about squirrel hunting. It's coming. We'll be right back.
All right.
Be right back on Outdoors with Larry Ray.
Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on 790 The Bet. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency and Wally Hatchett's Comfort Food and Drinks at 6439 Summer Avenue.
You're now listening to the best of Outdoors with Larry Ray.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray as we wrap up today's show. And it's still the fastest 90 minutes in outdoor radio programming. And in particular, when I get both of these guys in the studio at the same time, this is a rarity because one's either gone someplace out filming in the illustrious places, he has to go, part of his job. He's got to go to Louisiana and kill ducks and teal, and he might have to go someplace else. Then Frank Barton, he just bought him a new truck, and he just likes to ride out to the west all the time with dogs. And so it's good to have him in studio, and also it's really good to talk to this next guy because I know he's been been part of the DU family for so long. I know back in 1992, he probably doesn't remember it, but I was there. I think I slipped the dollar bill to Bill Morris. I'm not really for sure, but who paid that? But when Ducks Unlimited came to Memphis and I was at the Commercial Appeal as the outdoor editor, of course, Chuck Smith was heavily involved in that, along with a lot of other people, and we're really happy to have the newly elected president of Ducks Unlimited. Finally, they got it right. You know, after all these years, we got a Memphian in there. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning, Larry. How are you?
I'm getting better just talking to you. This show has been therapy in my cancer journey since February. It really has. My wife says, you don't act like that at the house, you know, but it's something about being on the radio and having guests like you and John and Frank in the studio. But I just wondered back in July the 15th when 875 Ducks Unlimited members and volunteers, was it unanimous? You know, I mean, somebody stood up in the back and said, no, but it had to be an honor, and it is an honor to be the president. Talk about it.
Oh, it was great. And I tell you, those 875 people, they read the report from the stage of the nominating committee, which the board of directors had approved, and then they asked for any nominations from the floor, and I was just holding my breath. I hope nobody was nominated from the floor. But they didn't, so they voted to accept the slate of the nominees as presented. So it does not have to be unanimous to answer your question. A simple majority was all I needed, and I got that. So we were off and running. It's a great honor. It's a great company, a great conservation organization that does work, you know, continent-wide from the boreal forest down to Mexico. And wonderful people out here. I'm at DU headquarters right now, and I do not have an office here. They wouldn't allow that, thank goodness. But
all right, yeah.
They have a wonderful staff and a lot of great people all pulling in the same direction. That's conservation.
And I know you're all about volunteers, Chuck. That's part of DU's not only have the ability to raise money, but you have the ability to have some really great volunteers. Talk about that from your side as the president now and what the volunteers mean to DU.
Well, you know, in 1937, when DU was started, it was started by volunteers, some businessmen that said, you know, ducks are in sad shape. It's the middle of the Dust Bowl. There's a drought.
Right.
We got to do something about it. So those volunteers got together and formed Ducks Unlimited, and in those days, one of their big fundraising efforts with all these events that they would put on, and they would have an auction, and they'd have a raffle, and they'd sell memberships to DU and so on. And it's still a huge part of what we do. We put on some 4,300 events across the country every year, and it's strictly put on by volunteers in every marketplace that give their time and their money to stage these DU dinners. I'm sure you've been to a couple of hundred of them yourself.
Yeah,
I know I have.
I have, and I know that in 1937, one of those people heavily involved in the formation of Ducks Unlimited was Nash Buckingham. Of course,
yeah.
as I was only the fourth outdoor editor in the Commercial Appeals history when I became outdoor editor, and the first was Nash Buckingham. And I thought it was, I think I even wrote about it, that here I am in 1992 writing about something coming to Memphis that was helped started by Nash Buckingham in 1937. And and it just, the appropriate fit there. But I know, John, we talked about this. We drive, I don't know how many thousands of cars drive down Walnut Grove, Chuck, heading east and see that flag and don't know what's behind the bushes. You know, I mean, but that's y'all's job is to get that out, and that's what we try to do on Outdoors with Larry Ray, because y'all are such an important part of the Memphis landscape.
Well, you know, one of my missions in my interview that was in the Daily Memphian was to promote Ducks Unlimited as a company and as a great corporate citizen.
Yes.
To Memphis. You know, being a native Memphian, I'm amazed at how many people don't really know, you know, about that flag behind Walnut Grove and the work that we do and the conservation that we do, again, continent-wide. And so I'm tired of it being a great kept secret in Memphis. I want some more awareness of the good work that this great company does out here. So that was simply one of my pet peeves, is to kind of, no other president from Memphis that really had that issue, but I have it.
Well, I've been saying that for 21 years on this radio show. And, of course, Frank's talking about wearing tennis shoes to duck hunt with you, and that kind of threw me for a loop right there, when he started talking about that. And then John's back there in the bushes, too, working amongst all the great people that you guys do. And, we know DU. We know it from ducks.org. We know it from the great work that you do. But the personal level of in this community is still, we talk about a lot of great things in Memphis, and there are. But I'm just telling you, Ducks Unlimited is one of the. When we got that part of land, and I say we, back in 1992, with Billy Donovan and all the great people out there. And I remember the guys coming down from Chicago, all had on black overcoats, it seemed like.
Oh, yeah.
And saying, this is where we're coming. We're moving from Chicago to here. And it's been one of the most greatest movements by any organization, I think, in Memphis business history.
Well, you mentioned Billy Donovan, and it was strictly Billy that got them to relocate to Memphis. At that time, back in 92, several other cities had expressed interest in having DU put the headquarters in, including Golden, Colorado at the time when Pete Coors was president of DU, and he had an interest in Golden, Colorado, so he was promoting that. So Billy stepped up and just made them an offer they couldn't refuse. So here we are, 30 years later.
It's amazing. Again, we're talking to Chuck Smith, the newly elected president of Ducks Unlimited. How does that sound to you? I mean.
Well, I'm working on about day 35 with that. I'm kind of getting used to it, I guess.
Well, I mean, you started what as a volunteer, didn't you, Chuck? I mean,
I was home and from school and so on, and somebody asked me if I'd like to volunteer to work for Ducks Unlimited. And I said, sure. What's Ducks Unlimited? I was totally unfamiliar with it, but I knew I loved to duck hunt, so I said, yeah, I'll do that. And I just started working for the little Memphis chapter here. You may remember Rick Phillips and all those bunch of bandits from back in those days.
Yes.
And so those were my mentors. That's kind of dangerous, I know. So I worked on the dinner, and then I was Tennessee State Chairman for a while, and then I joined the board, and then I kind of took a little time off, like 30 years, and got back involved about 7 or 8 years ago, I guess, when I was asked to be secretary.
Yes.
And I did that for about 4 or 5 years, following Steve Reynolds, which is a huge task. I wish on no one.
I've hunted with Steve. Okay, I know Steve.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. Following Steve Reynolds as secretary at Ducks Unlimited is like following Bear Bryant as coach at Alabama.
I remember that guy too that had to follow him. Yeah. I don't think he was there very long. Okay.
Yeah.
But
that's right. So hopefully I'm a little different.
And so was the story true about your company? And we can mention National Guard Products.
Sure.
Your catalog with the picture of the ducks on it, and you which I found fascinating that you put the picture of the ducks on there, and I think you had Elvis on one year on the cover.
Yeah, nobody liked the Elvis except me, so we went back to ducks after that. Larry, we had our company, National Guard Products, manufactured commercial building products like weather stripping and thresholds, and we had to create a new catalog cover every year to send out to our customers. So we put a picture of a threshold on there or something, and don't get me wrong, I love thresholds, but I'm sure not everyone shares my enthusiasm for thresholds. So we were looking for something else of interest, and I was just sitting in my chair one night and looked up, and I saw an Alan Hughes picture hanging on my wall and said, that's it.
Yes.
We're going to put ducks on the cover of the catalog. And that was probably mid-'80s, I guess, and we hadn't missed a single year with ducks.
Well, Dr. Hughes, a great artist, and, of course, his son Alan, we all know Alan has continued that legacy. And, again, we're talking to Chuck Smith, newly elected president, and we just got a couple of minutes here. Any one of you guys want to ask Chuck a quick question that's actually serious and meaningful here? I mean, John, you work for Ducks Unlimited. The job of president may sound like it's all fun and games, but it's not.
No, I can tell you from being on the inside that the president position is very important. I mean, you're really the face of Ducks Unlimited.
That's right.
So, I mean, they have to keep a pretty heavy schedule traveling around to different parts of the country. And, Chuck, I can just say on behalf of everybody at DU, man, thanks so much for everything you've done for Ducks Unlimited and continue to do. And, we're all so grateful.
Yes.
Well, it's you guys who are doing the heavy lifting. I'm just kind of sitting in the background in a Quonset hut having a margarita. You guys are on the front lines doing the heavy lifting every day.
Okay. Well, John wants a new office, too, while we're at it here, okay? All right.
Not a problem.
Chuck, we appreciate you being with us on Outdoors of Larry Ray, buddy. Congratulations. Look forward to a great year and proud for you. And maybe you can work me in, and I can get somebody to drive me some over there and see you sometime, okay?
Well, be sure to bring your tennis shoes.
I got them, buddy. Thank you, Chuck.
All
right? All right.
Thank you.
All right, Chuck Smith. All right, let me tell you about next week's show because we're going to wrap up the Legend of the Outdoor Hall of Fame on next week's show. Ron Wong and Bill Cooksey will be in the studio. Both of them will be at Springfield today. Dustin Connell, just won about $100,000 bass fishing, and we're going to have Dustin on next week's show. Shelby McCall, thank you, taking care of us. We had to move rooms. Thank you, John.
You're welcome,
here.
Larry.
John Gordon, thank you, Frank Barton.
Thank you, Larry.
Safe travels next month.
Enjoy receiving your award this evening.
Yeah, congratulations, Larry.
Thank you very much. All right, this is Larry Ray reminding you each and every week it doesn't cost an extra cent to be a good sport. And what else, guys?
God bless the USA.
Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on 790 The Bet. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency and Wally Hatchett's Comfort Food and Drinks at 6439 Summer Avenue.
You're now listening to the best of Outdoors with Larry Ray.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Shelby's going to get me. I mean, it was English, but it was a different version of English in the countdown. Wish y'all people could be here for this.
She's very talented.
She is, isn't that
right?
She's
going to do the next segment for you. Count it down in Klingon.
And Klingon? Oh, my gosh. Okay, let's don't scare off our next guest because, she's going to look that up. She may do it. But, of course, this is fifth Saturday, which means we have Dave Gabbert on the road at his house. But in studio, we have Gene Smith. Shelby McCall is our show producer. Really wonderful to have this next young man on our show. So proud of him that he's come up through the ranks to do what's an impossible job when it comes down.
It's good to see kids go up and, do
kids.
good.
Yeah, he may not feel like a kid, but I know his roots are West Tennessee. He's the new TWR executive director, and that's our good friend Jason Maxidon. Good morning, Jason.
Well, good morning, Mr. Larry.
Okay, now I'm sure you were warned by many people what to expect on this show, right? I mean,
well, everything was good till I heard that Dave Gabbert was there.
Well, Dave's no longer with us. I didn't know if
That's
you knew
why
that
we put
or
him
not.
on the road.
He's on a telephone pole in Lexington right now. But I know you and Dave go back from your time in West Tennessee, and I think it's pretty cool where you started. And where you've come to, and I'll say a wonderful job in your press conference, which was the first time that's maybe that was really handled really nicely and everything. But let's talk about your roots, Jason, because a lot of our folks may not be familiar, and they'll say, "Oh, I remember that guy." So talk about growing up in West Tennessee, and then all of a sudden, these many years later. You're the director of the TWRA under a manpower without Dave Gabbert of 5. No, it's a big. You have a lot on your plate. So talk about your growing up in West Tennessee.
Well, thank you, Mr. Larry. I appreciate you having me on. But yes, sir, I was born and raised in West Tennessee, and so most of my family's actually from McNairy County.
New Bern
and
too.
I live there.
You got some New Bern.
Well, yes, sir, New Bern. So I moved to New Bern at the age of 9.
You did,
that's
okay.
Really yes, sir, and that's really where I started doing most of my hunting and fishing was with some friends there in New Bern. They introduced me to deer hunting.
Yes, yes. And I know that just was a starting place for you because when you were in high school, was this what you wanted to be, or did you want to be a lawyer or a doctor, or maybe a hunter education teacher? I don't know. What was young Jason Mexidon?
Well, you're like every other young teenager. You have these big dreams. I was in high school rodeo at that time, so I thought I was going to be a professional bull rider, as crazy as that sounds.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And that quickly changed for me a little bit later on. And then really, at a young age, I knew, or at least I thought I wanted to be a county wildlife officer. So
okay.
That was my dream job that I always wanted to do.
And then, of course, UT Martin, Dyersburg State, and then you went to UT Martin and your master's degree in forestry at UT Tennessee. Worked your way through here because at one time you were right here as a wildlife program manager in West Tennessee with a lot of responsibilities. So when you got that job and you had it for a while, was ever in your wildest dreams the thought one day you might be the executive director?
No, sir. I never dreamed that I would be in this position and was never really looking for it either.
And you got it. How's it feel? You've been on the job now for a couple of months, just about. Talk about it.
Well, it's a very humbling experience to start with. Like I say, I started out there in West Tennessee and worked up through the field and never looked towards being here or never looked towards that position. So, as you learn a lot. I was in the deputy director role
yes,
for
you
2
were.
years before coming to this position. And, even working 22 years for the agency, there's a lot that I did not know that the agency does.
Yes.
And so I learned a lot in that deputy role about things that we do that I wasn't exposed to. And then even more in this role and just learning a lot about working with a lot of stakeholders,
yes.
a lot of different partners, and really all that comes along with that role. And I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot more that I learn over the months to come. And,
Dave, you've known Jason for a long time. To me, he fits the role. I mean,
he does, and it's always good. I was always a firm believer that, talking to people, I said, if you want to be, it's always good when you see, and companies are successful when
yes.
you have a CEO that started in the mailroom.
Yes,
there you go.
Yeah, that's right.
Go.
Yeah,
and everything, and Jason, coming up in West Tennessee, and being out there, in the trudging around, when he was program manager up there, and,
yes.
in the bottoms and stuff, and not afraid to get your feet muddy, and then having to go, going into Nashville, and Tennessee's a unique state,
Yes.
It's, from the mountaintops to east down to the banks of the Mississippi River, like you said, it's very diverse and
too many counties.
And he's kept abreast of things, and as we like to use these words in wildlife management, it's dynamic. It's
yes.
not static, so
yes.
it's changing all the time for him, and it's and I can see a lot of changes, that has gone on since when I first started work in my 5 years with the agency, and then leaving. What has changed just since I've left?
Well, you can look at this, and I remember, Jason, you can expound on this. You mentioned more transparency. That did kind of jump out at me when you mentioned that in your press conference. And a lot of folks might say, well, what does he mean by that? Tell us that.
Well, I'm wanting to improve our customer service and just be more transparent about a lot of the things we do as an agency.
Yeah.
And this little thing called duck blinds that's out there in West Tennessee.
Yeah. Way to go, Jason. Jump right in on that one, buddy. I didn't mention it first. Y'all remember that. Now, Jason mentioned duck blinds before I did. Okay? All right. So,
well, I figured I'd tackle that one out.
Thank you, Jason. I know it, but
start at the top.
Yeah, start at the top. I said let Jason say that, and you did. But that's just part of the job now. So
it is, and I'm one of them. That's the thing. And a lot of the folks that know me from West Tennessee know that I grew up hunting in West Tennessee.
That's
and
right.
Hunting on the wildlife management areas. A lot of them have run into me at the boat ramp at
Yes, yeah.
putting in on the bluff side. A lot of them see me at the draws. I used to attend the draw every Saturday myself before actually coming to work for the agency. But going back to that transparency, we're getting out. We're trying. If you looked at Facebook, we're just trying to get out. People have a lot of questions, and I want them to see that we're out there trying to answer them as best we can. So we're going out, shooting videos of the crops that are out there, the crop conditions.
I love
Even
it.
though right now we're going through a drought, some of them don't look good, but we're still showing what's out there. And we're going to try to increase and really do more of this and be more of a forward-facing agency with our customer service. And really, when people have questions, just try to do our best to be able to answer those questions and be transparent with them.
And you're coming along at a time that our good friend Bill Dance and the fishing trail, that's got to be exciting for you, Jason, to be a part of that as we watch that thing grow.
Well, I'm very excited about that. Of course, probably like every one of us that are on this call, I grew up watching Bill Dance on TV, especially as a kid, and he was kind of an idol. You look at him and you want to be like Bill Dance and get out on all the lakes and fish. But this is a really neat project, and I'm kind of coming in, into this role now and getting to be part of it with Frank Fish, our fisheries chief. But neat program. We're working with Bill Dance. We're working with many partners. We're working, with TDEC, TWRA, the Department of Tourism, and then Bill Dance Outdoors, really to put these signature lake series together.
Yes.
This is going to be a neat thing for
beautiful.
for Tennesseans and our fishermen now and into the future.
And I see Herb Parsons Lake. A lot of people don't even know who Herb Parsons is, but it's going to be a crown jewel when Bill and you guys get through with it, and that's just part of what you're looking at ahead. I know you haven't had time to formulate everything, but I know you got a lot on your plate as you go into this. And fortunately, we're going to talk to Jeremy Dennison right after you about CWD. I've hooked up with Jeremy, and he's going to follow you and talk a little bit about CWD, because here you are. That's going to be on your plate. You've got so many things that are going in different directions, but it takes more than one guy and your staff. I'm assuming that you're also going to be very available, I hope, like your staff has always been, particularly on this show or whatever, to tell what the TWRA does. I don't think a lot of people, I say that in Memphis, that people drive down Walnut Grove thousands a day and see that duck flag and say, I wonder what's back in there.
Well, now that when the circus comes to town,
yes,
our guys had to go check the permits and stuff, make sure they're all straight.
You got to do all that, and the same way the TWRA, they look on you guys as Dave, law enforcement is part of that. But Jason, your crew is on call 24 hours a day, just about. So talk about that and talk about the people that you're going to be working beside.
So I want to go back. You mentioned a thing and I'll share an experience of mine. I mean, from a small town in West Tennessee there in New Bern, attended the same church there for 20 years. And people knew, I was a wildlife manager. I was a commissioned, officer.
Yeah.
But really, a lot of people didn't even know what I did on a daily basis.
That's right.
And so I want us to do a better job of telling our story.
There you go.
So much. And
yes.
You just mentioned it's so much that we do as an agency. Not just for hunters and fishermen, but for people that are in the outdoors. So there's a big story that we could tell, and I want to do that. And then moving forward to your second part, the staff, they are the backbone of this agency.
Yeah.
We are only as good as our staff.
That's
and our
right.
people are so dedicated, so hardworking, professionals. They're really experts at what they do. And so, yes, I plan on I'm not just going to sit in the office. I'm going to be out in the field and make my way around the state and try to visit with, stakeholders, be with the staff, get out, work with them. If they're tearing out beaver dams, get out there and tear out a beaver dam with them. It just means a lot. It meant a lot to me when the directors would come out and look at the work that I was doing.
Well,
I want to be that type of person.
You need to be that. Where are you going to be on August the 6th?
I am going to be in two places that day.
I'm
probably going to start the morning in Big Sandy.
Okay.
And I've got to be in Knoxville that evening. So I'm going to have a really packed day to try to be from one end of the state to the other all in one day.
There you go, Dave. He's going to be in Big Sandy. There you go. Hey, we appreciate you, Jason. You brought it up, the duck blind. Everybody remember that. Okay, Jason talked about it first, and I wanted to ask where he'd be on August the 6th because that's when they're going to – it's still – you know what you got drawn, but you're going to have a big party, and we always like to throw parties in West Tennessee, particularly Big Sandy. But, Jason, thank you, buddy, for being with us. Hope to talk to you many times. Again, congratulations, and if Gabbert said anything, we'll cut it out. Don't worry.
I wish him all the best.
There you go. That's about as good as you can get from him. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Jason. You have a great day. All right, buddy. All right.
Thank you, gentlemen. Y'all have a great day. And hey, good to talk to you, Mr. Dave. Everybody have a great day.
All right. Thank you. All right. Let's take a break on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Be right back.
Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on 790 The Bet. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency and Wally Hatchett's Comfort Food and Drinks at 6439 Summer Avenue.
You're now listening to the best of Outdoors with Larry Ray.
Hey, welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray as we close out this fifth Saturday show on this July 30th. Of course, Gene Smith is in studio. Been interesting, Gene.
Yes, it has.
The fastest.
We've gone from one thing to another.
Fastest 90 minutes in outdoor radio programming. I've been doing this 21 years. And when I saw this recent news announcement from my good friend Keith Stevens with the Arkansas Game and Fish and saw that the new commissioner was from the area code 870, so I knew that was somewhere in the Pine Bluff area. And I know that when I heard the name Bill Jones, I automatically realized this is part of the Jones family from Sissy's Log Cabin. But there's a lot more to Bill than building this wonderful a chain of stores that all of us Memphians know of, and my wife knows of particularly. I can tell you that much. But to have him now on the Arkansas as a member of the Arkansas Game and Fish Board of Commissioners is quite a deal. And Bill, we really appreciate you taking time to be on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Good morning.
Well, I sure do appreciate it. Good morning to you, too. We're thrilled about it. And like you said, most people know me from the commercials and the diamonds and all that, but that's it's part of what I am. But what I really am is a lover of Arkansas. My family's been in Arkansas on my mother's side in the Watson, Gillette area since 1794.
My goodness. And but you have grown up a waterfowl hunter, all types of hunter. I found this thing. I don't know if we can, if you verify from your friend Ford Trotter, okay? If I tell this story about you moose hunting, and then you killed a moose on your first day, and you made furniture the rest of the time, is that true? I mean,
absolutely. I killed that moose with my bow and arrow about the first 30 minutes, and everybody else was hunting, and we were sitting in this little camp that wasn't but 10 by 20. There's no table, no. So I just went around the moose cabin and got stuff together and built a table and chairs so we could play cards after.
Amazing.
That's great.
That's pretty cool. And when the governor came knocking, was this an easy decision for you? This is a big job being a member. A lot of people think, oh, you guys sit around and go to all the good stuff and everything. You have to make some big decisions. So when the governor came knocking, were you ready for that invitation?
I probably came knocking on his door first. You have to you have to send an invitation and tell him that you're interested in it, and then have multiple meetings with him. And it was a lot of soul searching because people don't realize, it's a great appointment. It's a wonderful honor. But I'm gonna tell you, 7 years is a long time.
It's a long time. Yes, that's longer than ours run. Okay, ours want to know. No, they don't want that. We're in the 3-year terms here, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 4. But to do this, and of course following Benny. I mean, Benny had been there, and Westfall and so you got some big shoes to fill. But the outdoors, I can tell. I've read so much, Bill, about the roots there in Pine Bluff with your mama and your dad and your sister, and now your kids are involved in this the business. But at the same time, I can tell that outdoors is part of your passion too, right?
That's really all my passion. I've got grandkids now too, and grew up hunting, fishing my entire life, bow hunted. I think I killed my first limited ducks when I was 6 years old. My family's from Gillette, so
yes, right, yeah.
All my entire life, I went to Dewood High School for about a year and a half, and I told the story when I was about 15, coming home after school at Dewood Dragon, and I had my dog and walked out to one of our rice fields and got it. I bet there's 25,000 ducks in that field.
Wow. and you
only killed 2.
You only killed 2. Okay, that's why we don't have any ducks now. Okay, you were killing them 2 at a time. So
no, I didn't. Until I got out there, I wanted to work my dog, but it's the only time I've seen the sky get blackened with ducks.
Really? Well, I've seen it once myself, and I've been hunting over 50 years, and I've never seen a duck hunter that wasn't optimistic about the next year. We'll ask you that in a minute. You've had a lot of things happen in your lifetime, Bill, and to be a member of the commission. But I don't know if anybody's got more stories to tell than you. And one of the things that really stuck out when I read some things about you is when you took your son William. Y'all wanted to do something bonding together. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that story of Alaska and spending time with you and your son for an extended period of time?
Well, my dad lived in Africa when I was 18, 19, and 20. So when those 3 summers, I got to go, and I had all kinds of stories, line attacks, all this stuff. And my son, when he was graduated from high school, he goes, "Dad, I want some stories like you had." I said, "Well, son, if you're going to have stories like that, you're going to have to, put yourself in a situation." So I looked up what we could do in Alaska, and we.
You found a company. You found a guide service. Yeah. Okay.
They do unguided hunts, is what they do. We
for
got
10 days. For 10 days, unguided hunts. Okay.
And all they do is you would show up with your gear, and they would have, not refrigerator, but ice chest with your food and stuff like that.
Right.
Your cot and your. We got in the plane at Kotzebue, and they flew us over the Brooks Mountain Range. I bet they didn't miss the mountain range by 10 feet.
In a Piper Cub plane. Okay, you and your son getting ready to start bonding. Okay, they dropped you off.
He landed beside this stream, and the boulders were 3 feet in diameter. I couldn't believe he could land in such a rough place. But the guy stopped, and we're bow hunting, and he never turned the plane off, and he said, "All right, get out." And he goes, "I'll pick you up here 10 days from now, and if the weather's bad, it'll be longer." He turned around and left, and you know, thing of lone. We were caribou hunting, and we ended up both killing a caribou. And you talk about bonding experience. That's why I found it, because when there's no guide, there's no nothing. You have to cook clean. We fished out of the river.
Yeah.
Basically had no food, killed the caribou, ate it. You talk about bonding with your son. I mean, you had to protect each other, even going to the restroom, because there's so many grizzlies up in that area.
And to think, and all people see you now dressed up, looking nice on the TV ads, and think that guy was never in Alaska. I mean, you fooled the public, okay, Bill? I think we're letting the cat out of the bag here. I probably.
I left.
What?
Irrationally irresponsible for taking my son up there. And then
your other son, though, White, wants to do something too. I mean, I see where he wants to do something. So you drop him off.
My wife told me if I don't bring my son home, Alaska's your new home.
Again, we're talking Bill Jones. He's a new member of the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission board of directors, and, of course, you folks know him from his family with Sissy's Log Cabin, but he's got so much more involved in that, loves the outdoors, as you can tell, and is Keith, when I asked Keith Stevens, you think I'd get Bill on the show with me? All I got back was a telephone number. In other words, call him, which I did, and he accepted being on Outdoors with Larry Ray. So what do you hope now as a member for 7 years? What do you look for in this, Bill?
Well, I think this Biometer project, the
yes.
Garrett project,
yeah,
and what they're going to do there is absolutely unbelievable. I saw the survey. I saw what they had done with the classification of trees and what's happening with the water and the red oaks and the willow oaks and the overcup, and it's just absolutely brilliant what they've come up with, because that 30,000 acres has not really been managed over the last 40, 50 years.
No.
And it's getting taken over with overcup and stuff that's not good for ducks. And
yes.
Their plan, what they're going to do, is going to absolutely change that over the next 20 years. And it's absolutely brilliant. And what they're going to do with other WMAs is amazing, too.
And that's something.
One thing I have definitely for sure.
What's that?
Is that, I go to the public meetings. I used to stand up and give my opinion and everything.
Yeah.
But it is unbelievable the amount of information that these commissioners have to make these decisions by.
That's right.
They're not hardly. There's 650 people in the organization. We've got, 9 or 10 biologists, unbelievably talented people. And these decisions that are being made are extraordinarily thought through.
Yes.
And they're for the whole state. They're not just for an individual group or an individual place.
No. And I know it's the same with our group, the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency and their Fish and Wildlife Commission, which we is part of Outdoors with Larry Ray and has been for many years. And me growing up in Arkansas and reading Joe Mosby and all the people before him, Aubrey Watson and all the great people at the Game and Fish Commission, and know whether it's Keith Sutton and all these guys and Keith Stevens going on now. Bill, I appreciate you taking time on a busy schedule. Folks, if you're at the Delta Waterfowl Duck Hunters Expo today at the State Convention Center in Little Rock, you might see him. I doubt if he'll be wearing the same outfit he wears on TV. Okay, I mean, don't look for that, but look for that familiar face. And Bill, we hope you can get you back on the show several times. You got an open door policy here on Outdoors with Larry Ray, and again, congratulations. And I just can't wait to read more stories. I expect a book to come out of this. Do y'all got a book or maybe a TV series? I think that it would make.
We need to write a book on Sissy. She's the famous one.
That's the one. She definitely is. Thank you, Bill. Have a great day. We'll stay in touch. Okay, buddy? All right. All right, thank you. All right, Bill Jones, Sissy's Log Cabin. His mom is Sissy. He calls her Sissy.
Right. Yeah.
And his sister's there, and his 2 kids are there, and everybody's there. It's a wonderful story. Okay, before we go, it's time to go. You've picked out another one for
I
leave.
I got one.
Here it comes.
I got a call last night. A friend of mine's father got run over by a steamroller.
Oh,
so when we went to see him, I said, "What room is he in?" He said, 20, 21, and 22.
Oh, no. Clang, clang, clang goes the railroad. All right, he'll be back next week, a whole segment of Pun Time with the one and only Gene Smith. Dave Gabbert will be coming to us from the Grand American Shooting Competition in Sparta, Illinois, and he'll be reporting there. Got some other surprise guests. Shelby McCall took care of us. Another week of radiation next week, and I'm ready. This is Larry Ray reminding you to do each and every week. It doesn't cost an extra cent to be a good sport. And what else, Gene? God bless the USA.
Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on 790 The Bet. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency and Wally Hatchett's Comfort Food and Drinks at 6439 Summer Avenue.
You're now listening to the best of Outdoors with Larry Ray.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray. We've rolled into our 21st year in the air here in Memphis, Tennessee on AM 790. And all you good folks in Brownsville and Jackson throughout West Tennessee. And who knows, somebody else might know who this next person is if they're anywhere near Kentucky Lake or Camden. And Bill Cooksey, you're our guilty person. You're the partner in crime. How about you introducing this next guest?
I am proud to, Larry. This next guest, I mean, if you know much about Kentucky Lake, you'll recognize the family name. And if you watch Bassmaster and pay attention, you'll recognize him too, because so far this year he's been on 4 of the 6 winning boats running a camera. So he shows up in a lot
Yeah,
of
that's
footage.
on the Elite Series, too.
On the Elite Series,
yes.
Right. And in addition to that, and this guy's name's Jake Latonders, and Jake lives now in Fort Collins, Colorado, but he has a successful video production company, and that's kind of where Jake and I work-wise overlap. He's done some work with me at Vanish in Paradise, and back in the day at Avery Outdoors and Rich and Tone Calls, and now he's filmed in over 49 countries, which is just an amazing thing.
Yes.
So we're proud to have Jake Latonders on today. Jake, how are you doing this Saturday morning?
I'm doing well, Bill, and everyone else. Thank you for having me on.
Well, we appreciate you. Busy time. I know it is for you, and you want to get back in another boat and win again. I know, I guess they're drawing straws to make sure who gets you in the boat, but it's been quite a career, Jake. I mean, goodness gracious. Tell your roots out of Camden, your family roots in the pearl industry and things along that line. Living the dream, an artist who was drawing, and all of a sudden, let's do some camera work, and you still like that still photography, also part of this. So tell us, this is really, I guess, if you tried to encompass what's happened to you, it's pretty amazing. So talk about from Camden to where you are now.
Whew, that's a long way from home now.
Isn't it, though?
Yes.
Yes.
It is, and yet so close, because, you know, Camden is still near and dear to my heart. Kentucky Lake, I'm very proud, particularly now as a professional cameraman for the Bassmaster Elite Series. I'm very proud to tell people that I was born and raised on Kentucky Lake, and
yes.
Like you said, my dad was a pearl farmer there, but even more importantly and relevant to my career now, you know, he was an outdoorsman, and he was an avid outdoorsman. And I remember one time when I was a kid, I think I just told Bill this story the other day, and he might have been the very first person that I ever told this story to. But when I was a kid, I started duck hunting when I was 3 years old. And I remember one time when I was maybe 5 or 6, my dad woke up and didn't wake me up. He went duck hunting. He found a dry cornfield that wood ducks were dry feeding in, and he came home with his limit of wood ducks. And this was way back when the first early wood duck season was integrated into the teal season, so it was a new thing back then. But I remember walking outside when my dad pulled up into the driveway, and he pulled 4 beautiful Drake wood ducks out of the back of the 1969 Bronco, and I just started crying.
Oh, man.
And my dad looked at me and he said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I wanted to go with you." And as I recall, my dad said, "Son, I can see what this means to you, and I can promise you I'll never go hunting without you again." And I can assure you that he never did.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
You know, that's what this means to me. That's what the outdoors means to me. That's what I do as a father in trying to instill these outdoor activities and lifestyle to all 3 of my children, particularly my son, who seems to be eating up with bass fishing now.
There you go. Yeah. I'm sure he wants to be in your boat, too, probably. I mean, you know.
He does.
But,
he does.
Well, it's an amazing career, and I've kind of studied up on a lot of this, Jake. And before we talk about the recent success and what it means, I found a couple of stories in there about you and a horse in the British Columbia or Alaska or someplace where you got your leg crushed and barely made it, had so much recovery time during this. Was that a time that you thought maybe you not be able to do what you do?
I probably didn't think that way. I was thinking that this was going to hinder my career in a way that there was going to be some other opportunities that came up during my recovery period, and I wasn't going to be able to accept a job.
Oh.
But I was really looking forward to healing up as quickly and as
pretty amazing. Yeah.
You know, as well as possible so that I could get back on the road and continue doing. I mean, you know, those things happen and there was nothing I could do about it.
No.
Everything, considering the circumstances, went the right way. I've healed up since then and probably been to 25 states and, 5 or 6 countries since then. So it's all good.
And you've also been shot by Bobby Lane, I understand. I mean,
Lee Livesey did that to me a couple of days ago at Lake Fork. He hit me
what?
with a
Yet?
Bobby Lane hit me with a 1.5 ounce jig in those deep mats at Ross Barnett years ago.
Yes.
And it actually knocked me down in the boat. And then just on Sunday with Lee Livesey in his boat, he had hooked up and his load was his rod was fully loaded on about a 6-pounder. And I turned to go tight on the fish because it had surfaced. And as soon as I got to the fish and racked the focus, the hair jig popped out and came. I could hear it coming like a bullet, and it hit me right in the abdomen, literally at the same latitude as the Bobby Lane scar is. And now I've got a double bruise.
A double bruise. So don't tell me it's cameramen.
And that happens too.
They don't
really
have a rough life and things, but what you've been through. But this recent streak, talk about it. And Bill, I know that you know Jake as well as anybody, but being on the boat for
Steve
4 out of
Bowman
6.
And I were talking about it the other day. So
do what?
Steve Bowman and I were talking about this streak the other day, and both just shaking our heads.
So talk about the streak now.
Well, I don't know how to explain it because the draw, the assignments that we get from studio, our director, really is somewhat random. They do try to match us up with people that they know are going to be comfortable with in their boat,
right?
Because the chemistry is not always there.
That's
and
exactly right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one of the things that started me in sort of a rotation with certain anglers was my mother is Japanese, so I'm half Japanese. And years ago, on Wheeler Lake on the Tennessee River, Takahiro Omori was leading the event after 2 days. So they put me in his boat on day 3 and day 4, and he ended up winning that event. And they put me in his boat because I could speak a little Japanese, and I could help facilitate a little bit more emotion and drama from talk during that time, and it worked out really well. So, they started putting me with other people like Taku Ito and Daisuke Aoki, and then, I have a relationship with Jason Christie from a cameraman to angler circumstance, and Lee Livesey, Brandon Polinick. I mean, the list goes on. So I can't really explain the winds and how I end up in these boats because as suspicious as it looks, it really is pretty doggone random.
It is.
And this year, I mean, the icing on the cake really is the fact that on most of the winds that I've been on with John Cruz and Lee Livesey and Jason Christie and Drew Cook, I've been pretty much wire to wire with them, which even to go wire to wire in one event, I've been doing this for 12 years now, and I can count on one hand how many times I've been wire to wire with an angler. So it's all really very surreal, but it's a lot of fun, and I really don't want it to stop.
Yeah, and we've had every one of those.
We've had every one of those winners on the show, and I think Cooksy's been every one of them. Said you better talk to Jake.
Yeah,
I mean, let's forget talking to these guys that won, but
that's cool, and that's hard work too.
Yeah, and I know Bill, your thoughts on Jake and his career, Bill? I know because you guys have known each other a long time.
Larry, Jake's one of those people that when he comes into your life, you realize you've met somebody special. And I didn't realize it quick. For a little bit, I thought, man, this guy's too sincere to be real. But it turns out he really is that guy. And, I mean, his energy. I mean, we just spent 6 days driving around the Everglades together in a trip that was absolute chaos and nuts. I mean, with fishing, interviewing, python hunting, all of that stuff. And it was a blast. I can't imagine wanting to have done that trip with anyone else.
Well, it helps that he went to UT, Bill. Okay, yeah, I didn't know if you were ever going to mention it, Bill. Come on. We got 2 minutes in the show, and you hadn't said it yet. So
hey, I'm trying to be reformed.
Oh, yeah, I bet. Well, Jake, we appreciate you taking time, buddy, to be with us. Continued success. A lot of folks know you in this area, and we drove throughout West Tennessee, and thanks for being with us on the short notice. And keep going, because Lee was pulling for you to get him next week. When we talked to him after Ross Burnett, he said, I'm going to win at Lake Fork. Are you going to get Jake with you again? Yeah. So, anyway. All right, Jake. Have a great weekend, buddy, and thanks for talking with us, okay?
Yep. Thank you guys so much, and West Tennessee will always be home to me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jake. All right, let's take a break. We're going to wrap up this show on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Now, I can't get the guitar back, right? Get ready. Right. We're going back to TWRA. We're going to get a pun for the pun master before he leaves, and then we'll find out. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on 790 The Bet. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency and Wally Hatchett's Comfort Food and Drinks at 6439 Summer Avenue.
You're now listening to the best of Outdoors with Larry Ray.
And folks, we're talking with Jason Hart, co-founder of Nomad Hunting Apparel and Hook Fishing Apparel. And Jason, I spoke with you yesterday when I was in Nashville, and so were you. And tell us what you were doing in Nashville.
Well, I've got a good friend that at one time was a rock star. Now he's a country music singer by the name of Aaron Lewis, and it was his 50th birthday party last night. So I had a free afternoon after I got done guiding turkey hunts. So I flew into town and had a big time in Music City with a bunch of my rowdy friends. So had a good time. Now I'm heading to Delaware to chase turkeys on Good Friday and Saturday over on the East Coast.
Well, speaking of turkeys, why don't we talk turkey? Where all have you hunted this season so far in 2022?
Well, so far I started my season down in South Florida where I usually start. Then I was in South Carolina for our opener, and then I made it over to Georgia, made it to North Carolina, and I made it to Illinois so far. So and Mississippi. So I've spent just about every weekend since the first weekend in March chasing them somewhere, and I've had a pretty good season so far. I've got to pull the trigger on 3 myself, and I've called up 3 for other friends, and then I called up 2 that other friends missed. So I've had a pretty good season, but over the last 2 weeks I've had a little bit of run of bad luck. It seems like everywhere I've gone, the weather hadn't been cooperating, and when the weather doesn't cooperate, the turkeys don't seem to cooperate either. So,
well, I think I could speak for the rest of the state of Tennessee. If the bad weather's following you, you can just stay someplace else and hunt birds. We like our good weather and would like to have it stay that way. Hey, something you mentioned in a conversation we had the other day. You said that you had just completed have already completed the U.S. Slam. Is that correct?
Yes, I finished that last year, and it's called the U.S. Super Slam, which is harvesting a wild turkey in every state that the wild turkey exists. So right now there's huntable wild turkey populations in 49 out of 50 states, with Alaska being the one that does not have turkeys. And so anyhow, I set forth. I had a great hunting friend and a fellow hunting industry buddy of mine, James Guthrie, passed away in 2013, and he and I used to turkey hunt together all over. And when he passed away, I decided that life's short, and I wanted to go ahead and see if I could complete it. So it took me after I put my mind to it, took me 7 years, and I finished last last spring on April 20th in West Point, Mississippi, with my good friends at Mossy Oak Brand Camo. So
when you
go ahead.
let me just jump in here real quickly. Where'd you shoot the first one that you count for the slam?
Well, my first one I shot in 1995. My first 2 turkeys ever harvested near my hometown in South Carolina, and that kind of started the fuel of my passion of turkey hunting. And so I pretty much since then I've been pretty much hardcore chasing them, and got my first Grand Slam, which is harvesting one of all the 4 subspecies back in 2005. And then started chasing different Grand Slams with different gauges and archery gear and muzzle loader. And then when Buddy Guthrie passed away, I decided that the U.S. Slam, trying to harvest one in every state, was something I was going to do.
All
so
right.
Finished it up last year, and it was definitely a fun journey for sure.
Hey, talk to us about, we're talking a lot of hunting here with Jason, with Nomad and Hook Fishing. But you guys every year come out with some new apparel, not only for hook fishing but also Nomad, and we've got turkey season come up. What's new in the apparel world for Nomad?
Well, we are well known for our turkey hunting vests, and we came out with our 4th vest this spring. We've been launching vests the last few years, and this spring we came out with a product called the Bull Lounger Turkey Vest, which is a turkey vest that's unlike anything that's ever been on the market. It has an internal frame, and for the last 10 years, I spent most of my time hunting out of a turkey chair, which turkey chairs are bulky. They weigh about 8 pounds, and they're just not easy to carry. So I wanted to solve that problem, and so we designed an internal aluminum frame that basically allows you to sit upright and have the same comfort of a chair, but built into the vest. So that was the biggest new item we have. And we also came out with a new binocular harness system. We're calling it the Nomad Bino Harness for more of a minimalist hunter, a run and gun hunter. We've made different attachments that go to it, such as a thermocell attachment, a box call attachment, a friction call attachment, and a rangefinder attachment. So you pretty much, if you want to go minimal and just carry your binoculars, carry a box call, a friction call, you can just put that on and you're good to go. So those are some of the items. We've also got a new pant, the Mesh Light pant, and then as far as camouflage patterns are concerned, we brought back Mossy Oak Greenleaf this year.
Wow, cool.
Great.
Which we brought that back. We had it for a while, and we discontinued it for 1 year and realized the consumers asked for it. So we brought it back, and it's actually available. It's an independent dealer exclusive, so it's available you can only find it at independent dealers throughout the country, basically mom and pop type shops. So,
that's great.
We're just trying to support the folks that have supported us since we started. So a lot of great items as far as Nomad's concerned. Then coming in the fall, we'll be launching a lot of other new items, such as new waterfowl products, as well as new white-tailed deer products. So
you got Frank's attention there when you said waterfowl.
Yep.
Yes. We've had somewhat of a soft launch last year on the waterfowl side, but with some of the supply chain issues that were taking place in 2021, we didn't get all of our waterproof jackets in the country in time. So we're going to be relaunching that for 2022 with a Mossy Oak exclusive camo pattern called Mossy Oak Elements Hybrid Migrate, or Migrate for short, which is just a fantastic waterfowl pattern.
Yeah, talk to us about that. Frank is saying, all right, tell me about it.
Yes, Frank is saying that. Go.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, we're as far as the waterfowl side is concerned, it's a very big market, and there's some great competitors out there. So we're just trying to come up with, one thing we do at Nomad and Hook is we always look and see what our other competitors are doing, but we try to do it a little bit different. We try to make products that may not be out there, just to try to be innovative and be different from what everybody else is doing.
What sets you guys apart with your waterfowl gear?
Well, one thing what we're doing is we're using some different fabrics that have never been used on the waterfowl side. We're using a aramid type fabric, which is basically the generic name for a Kevlar that we're putting on areas of high abrasion on a lot of our waterfowl product. And we're also using a laminate that is 35,000, 15,000 waterproof breathable. Some of the most upper-end laminates out there are about $28,000, $15,000. So as far as, being waterproof, I think what you'll find is the jackets and the bibs that we'll be launching this year are going to keep you super, super dry and super warm. So a lot of exciting things coming out this fall.
When you mentioned Kevlar, 2 million ducks took notice. I'll say that. And then, of course, Frank said he wears an XL and all that stuff. So, he'll just we'll send you his address later.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, it'll be all of our fall products should be launching right around the 1st of July. So,
that's
be a few months before it's here.
Sure.
Now, will some of that be shown if that's around that time at ICAST, or will you guys be at ICAST?
Well, actually, for ICAST, we just focus on our hook brand, on just our fishing side of the business. So we'll have a whole new lineup of new hook products.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, there's basically Hook's got new. I mean, there's more to even speak about as far as what's coming down the pipe with the hook side of the business. So all of that will be there at ICAST.
All right. Hey, Jason, if somebody wants more information about Nomad Apparel, the stuff that's coming out for turkey season here, and your full line of apparel, where do they go?
Yeah, they can check us out. First off, we've got a website, which is nomadaoutdoor.com. And then you can also find us Nomad Outdoor on Instagram, Nomad Outdoor on Facebook as well. So you can find there's plenty of information. We're posting new content every day, and there'll be plenty of things to find on social media as far as the new products that we have coming out.
And, Jason, you were, before we got you on the air, you were telling us about one of the things you do in Nashville is you come to the National Wild Turkey Federation event every year here in Nashville. I say here in Nashville, I'm in Memphis, and we're not, but you come every year, and you sit on one of their boards, I understand.
Yes. I'm a volunteer on the NWTF's foundation board. So we're a fundraising arm of the National Wild Turkey Federation, where we raise funds to go towards NWTF missions. And right now, a lot of those missions are supporting wild turkey research. So yes, I've been going to the NWTF convention since 1996. Since I was a freshman in college and didn't know a soul, and now every year I go, it feels like a big family reunion. So it's an absolute blast. And if you've never been to the NWTF convention in Nashville, it always takes place right around mid-February. It is an amazing, amazing event. It's I think around 55,000 people attend, and if you like to hunt, if you like turkeys, if you like country music, if you like just having a good time, it's an awesome, awesome event.
One of the things I wanted to ask you when I noticed you were going to be on the show, one of the things I wanted to ask you is that if you had one tip that you could give every turkey hunter, what would that tip be?
That is a good question.
That means you're not sure.
Well, no, there's a lot of different tips, but the first thing that I would say is not to call too much. A lot of turkey hunters, every turkey hunter, we love to hear turkeys gobble. And, when you call to them, a lot of times you can call to them. The more you call to them, the more they gobble. But gobbling a turkey, getting a turkey to gobble doesn't always mean calling a turkey into you. So a lot of times when you get that bird fired up and you're calling to him and calling to him and calling to him, he keeps gobbling, well, he's telling you, come to me. So, one of my biggest tips is sit back and listen. And if that bird answers your call, then shut up. And let him come to you and find you. And that's the biggest thing. And it's taken me years and years and years. And it's tough because everybody loves to hear turkeys gobble. But, sometimes you have to sit back and put your call away and just let them come find you.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted to hear, something from the experts.
Great, Tim.
And I appreciate that. And Jason, we wish you guys great success with your new lines. And we'll talk to you again down the road.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, we always appreciate your support. Y'all been with us since the beginning for both our Hook and Nomad brands, and we sure appreciate all you do for us in the Mid-South region.
You bet. You have a great rest of the season, Jason, and we'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to the Best of Outdoors with Larry Ray. As what Larry always says, it doesn't cost an extra cent to be a good sport, and God bless the USA. USA. USA.